one of the papers, I don't remember if this was yours or not, one of the papers that I had, that I just graded, had things in it like where it had a sentence in front of it, and then the next sentence would say, it would then be used for, and when you say it would then be used for, based upon what the previous sentence was, it doesn't fit in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what you mean when you say it. So in that case, if I say awkward wording, then you may have to reword the sentence in front of it as well as the sentence that is highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to know that particular sentence doesn't make sense either by itself or the context that it's in. Each one of them is a little bit different. I don't specify it's the context or it's the word. I just say you need to work on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sorry, I'm like super close to the computer. I just realized.
Oh, I've got a couple other people. See, I had my head up here looking, dual tasking. Hello, Tanner. Hello, Nikki.
Camille just texted, said she's not going to be able to make it. So I think we're here. Nope, we're missing. Who are we still missing?
Josh, we're missing.
Josh, that's it.
Okay, we'll wait just another 2 minutes and then we'll get started. Hopefully Josh will be able to join us.
Okay. So do we have a midterm in this class, Brother Johns?
Not unless you want one.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Because I want to make my students happy.
I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm fine with not having a midterm as well. I think, yeah.
Yeah. My daughter talked me into taking her to California that week. I didn't realize it was midterm week. I'm like, oh, that's going to be fun.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started then. And then you guys can bring, is it Josh that's missing? You can bring him up on whatever we discuss. So I noticed that somebody's recording so he can watch what's going on.
Yep.
First thing is, does anyone have any questions on last week's grading on the paper you just got back? Oh, wait a minute. Have you got yours back yet?
We
Yes.
did.
Yes. Any questions on any of the grading comments over there?
I think it was pretty clear. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's jump in. One other thing I wanted to cover real quick. I got back to midterm student evaluations this past week, and I appreciate the comments that all of you took the time to put into there. And, one of the things that I wanted to point out, though, is I had 3 students that said you talk too much, and then I had about 8 or 9 students that said, you know, I like the detail that he goes into and the clarifications that he gives for us to write the paper. Now, those to me are 2 conflicting comments, and I wanted to just let you know that I really don't want to talk too much, but at the same time, I want to give you the help that you need to have. And I just want to point out that you need to understand that I got 35 students in the class, which means that I've got 35 different expectations of what they want from the instructor. So, for example, one person said he joins all of our meetings and he doesn't need to, and we don't need all of these meetings, and just let us go on and do what we want to do. And so there's different expectations from different students, and I really try to meet them. If I don't meet your expectations, I will honestly say I'm sorry, but I do have to try to meet the majority of the expectations, or the way that they teach you in teacher school, you meet the needs of the person that has the most need. Well, when you do that, then the people that have the least needs are the ones that get the most frustrated. So I'm sorry if that does cause some frustration. I've just got to kind of take into consideration that I've got 35 students, and I have to do what the majority of the students would like. So I definitely don't want to bore you, but I want to meet your needs. So excuse me just a second. Alexa, turn off Office Fan 2. I got a fan blowing on me that's driving me nuts. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go over then and hit the rubric. So we've talked about, if any questions come to mind as we're going through this about last week and you want to discuss anything, please let me know. Oh, one thing that I did, Trish and I were talking just before, you need to know also that I may make a comment in your paper that says something like grammatical error, sentence structuring error, or something like that, and awkward wording. I put this down there. I normally don't take away points unless there's an excessive amount of that. And you can tell whether or not you've lost points for that if you look down to the very bottom of your rubric, the last 3 questions. One of them is talking about any deductions for grammatical errors, spelling errors, and sentence structure. So even though I may put a whole lot of comments in your paper, those are there just for your consideration and for your benefit, but you're not losing points for them. What I'm trying to get is for you to understand what's going to be expected of you when you get out into the workplace, and I want you to be aware of the grammatical errors or sentence structuring errors that are there, and then you can make the changes to them when you're out in the workplace and the vice president's trying to decide whether to give you a raise or not. So that's the purpose of these comments. Let's take a look then at this week's rubric. You're going to see that who is your editor?
Camille.
Who is?
Camille.
I still didn't hear you. Did you say you are? Go, Camille.
Yes.
Oh, Camille's not here. Okay. What you're going to do is each one of you are going to go back to your element, let's say element A paper, and whatever you wrote, you're going to look at the grading comments that are there and make the changes that need to be made, that were commented on. And then you're going to send that paper to Camille. Then you're going to do the same thing with your element B paper that you just got back. Make the corrections, send them to Camille. Then Camille is going to take those and put them into the final paper. And you need to have made all of the changes before you send them into Camille. Now, the only thing that's going to be different on the final paper is that there is a section 12 that you have not, that was not in element A or element B. And in section 12, what you're going to do is to come up with 3 products that you would like to nominate to the vice president to say, I think these would be a good idea for us to sell in Russia. You're going to base those recommendations upon the research that you've done in element A and element B. So you're going to look at the type of political environment that's there, the type of government, the attitude towards FDI, whether or not there is a import duty or any type of an incentive for FDI. You're going to look at all of those things and say, okay, here's what I would recommend, or here's a recommendation for the company to consider using in Russia. So that's what you're going to do on element 12. Let me go over some things on element 12 that you're going to need, to know about in order to do this correctly. On element 12, you'll notice that there's a subsection 12.1. That's for your first product. There's a section 12.2. That's for your second product. And there's a section 12.3, and that's for your third product. All of the questions are exactly the same in 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3. So here's what we're looking for. The first thing is, one of the things that you did on the element B paper was to go in and look at the importing of products or importing of materials into your country. Some of them have higher tariffs than others. Some of them have restrictions. So you do have to import in your products. There has to be at least a portion of it that is imported. So you can either import the whole product, or you can import parts and components that you will assemble and then sell in Russia, or you can do a one-time import of maybe some testing equipment or a piece of equipment that you need in the office or something else. But you need to demonstrate your knowledge of the importing process. The second thing is put a name on your product, come up with some. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So importing. So when you say import, I mean that we're importing, like, so we're not importing into America and then into Russia. You want us just to be importing it into Russia, since we're like an American-based business.
That is correct.
Okay.
So your company, your parent company is a company in the United States, and the vice president in your office has called you in and said, we're thinking about expanding into Russia, and I would like you to do the research to tell me if that's a good idea or not. Now, in this part of the assignment, he or she has called you in and said, what do you think we ought to, if we do decide to go into Russia, what do you think would be a good product for us to sell? Now, then again, you have an option. You can say, well, let's take a whatchamajigger and import it and sell it into Russia. Now, that whatchamajigger could be made any place in the world. Maybe it's made out of Brazil or Germany or wherever it is, but you're going to import it into Russia. And so what you'll be taking into account is, what is Russia going to charge you for an import duty or an import tax or something else that comes in? But it can come from
maybe
anywhere.
I'm like overthinking it, but I'm just curious. So like, let's say we get whatever from China. Do we need to give you the information of what it took us to import it from China into America to then export it out of America into China? And
No,
am I like totally overthinking that?
Yeah, everything's going to come straight into China. You can buy it from anywhere you want to.
Okay, so just whatever it takes to get it into Russia itself.
Yes. Now, I've had a couple of groups. Let me give you just a suggestion. There's no sense in hitting your hand with a hammer. Okay. I had one group that decided they were going to manufacture a particular product, and they were going to get some parts from Germany, some parts from the United States, and some parts from China. If you do something like that, now you're going to have to give me the supply chain management for all three of those. You're going to have to give me 3 sources of manufacture for all 3 of those, which means you've really got 9 things that you're doing instead of 3. So make it easy on yourself, and just import from one country.
Okay, I still make sure that we're gonna hit like, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't want to underthink it, and then we didn't fulfill the rubric. But obviously, I was overthinking.
No, that's why we want to have these sessions, and why I want to be able to answer those questions for you. So the next thing is, now if you're looking at your rubric, letter B under 12.1 or 12.2 or 12.3, letter B says, how would this product address an unmet or an underserved market? Now, in the real world, your vice president is not going to be worried about that. Your vice president is going to be worried about, does this make money? Will it bring profit to the company? But because we're at BYU, they want you to look at the humanitarian part of this, and they want you to come up with a product that's going to meet an unmet need or an underserved market. Let me give you an example. Starbucks coffee will not fall into that category. There's a Starbucks coffee on every corner, and in a lot of places, there's also one in the middle of the block. So there is not an unmet need or an underserved market for either one of those. However, you may have a particular type of medicine that is needed in that country, and nobody else is supplying it, or the person that's supplying it can't keep up with the demand. That would be an example of an unmet need or an underserved market. The next one is other companies that have similar products or business activities that would be considered your competitors. Let me give you an example of that. Early in the semester, I mentioned to you a product that was called SIP, building materials. It's made out of cement fiberboard with a styrofoam inside of it. And one of the groups selected that as their product here a couple of years ago. And they came back and says, well, there is no competition because nobody else makes that product in this country. And they lost points for that. And as I explained it to them, I explained it this way. What are you going to use that material for? Well, we're going to build houses. Okay, well, do people live in houses now? Well, of course they do. How do they build those houses? Well, they build them with cinder block, bricks, mortar, wood, straw, tin off of a roof, or something else. So even though they don't make a SIP material, your competitor is, what are they using right now to meet that need? So that's what you're going to need to do, is to identify your competitors, and you're going to talk about their strengths and their weaknesses, and what you can do to, well, just talk about your competitors. You can see it in letter C. Okay, in D, when you bring a product into a country, it's going to have some type of a sustainable advantage. So again, let me give you an example. Let's suppose that it's a piece of medical equipment, and you have a patent on that medical equipment. That patent is going to give you a sustainable competitive advantage. It's sustainable because nobody else can violate that patent and can come in and provide that material. So as long as that patent's in place, you'll have a sustainable competitive advantage. Another thing is that you might come up with something that opens a bottle, and anybody's going to be able to reverse engineer that, and it's just a matter of how fast can they get into the market. So you may have a temporary advantage, sustainable advantage. It's only temporary until the other guys figure out how to get it in there into your country and start selling it into the product. So you need to identify on your product what type of a competitive advantage do you have. And in your readings this week, you will study the different types of competitive advantages that they are. You need to identify it and justify why you feel you have that type of a competitive advantage. And then on E, it's asking you to identify any cultural issues that might be associated with selling your product. So let's see. I'm trying to think of a social problem with Russia. I can't think of one right off the top of my head, so let me give you one with India. Okay, you won't want to open up a McDonald's hamburger stand in India because you're not going to sell anything. What's the other one? Icicles or ice blocks to an Eskimo? Probably not. So you have to take a look at, are there any cultural issues that you need to take into consideration in selling your product to the Russian culture? And then you're going to do that with 3 products. All of those steps that we just talked about, you'll do with 3 products, and then send it in. The vice president will select one of those products and send that back to you and tell you, this is the product that we've chosen, our company has chosen to introduce into Russia. And then you are going to spend the second part of the class, or project 2, the second half of the semester, and you are going to write papers on, how am I going to market that? Who's my target market? How do I supply it? Am I going to sell it in a store? Am I going to sell it online? All of those different things. And then you're also going to put together a company structure as to how you're going to, what officers you're going to have in the company, and what their assignments are going to be, and what they're going to be responsible for. So that's what the second half is. So a lot of it's going to be based upon the product that you have. So give your product some thought, come up with some good things, and if you need to run some things past me or talk to me about it, remember that I'm in my office from 6:30 at night until 10 o'clock at night, every night except Monday. So what questions now do you have on the rubric? None at all, huh?
I'm good.
Could you explain again what is to find something that has an unmet need? I didn't quite understand that very well.
The unmet need is going to be where you can take, let's see how's the best way to word this. You can take almost any product, and make it an unmet need. So as an example, the SIP building materials that I was talking about, you could say that that's meeting an unmet need because it's fire retardant, insect retardant, it'll withstand winds up to 200 miles per hour, and it will withstand in excess of a 7.0 magnitude earthquake. So that makes it an unmet need because there is no other product that can meet that need. An underserved market could be something to where you see where water filters, boy, I hate using that example. Please don't use water filters. Everybody uses water filters. But yes, you can show that there are places in Russia that don't have water, purified water to drink. Now there might be one company that supplies that water to those places, and you could say, well, that's an underserved market because they can't get enough water into that market to serve the entire population. Or you could say an underserved market is, well, they make a small size and a large size, but they don't make a medium size. So the people that want a medium size, that's an underserved market or an unmet need. So that's what it's talking about when it's talking about an unmet need or an underserved market.
Makes sense.
You know, and I'm trying to remember, you guys in Russia have a wonderful opportunity, if I could remember what it is. Oh, darn it. There is a mineral. You might have to do a little research on this, or if I can find it, I'll send it to you. But there is a mineral that is used for something, and it's only found one place in the whole world, and that's in one of the northern Russian provinces. And I've forgotten what it is or what it does, Oh, no, I do remember. Now I'm getting back into the water purification thing. Well, for you guys in this case, as long as you don't use like a typical water purifier, it's fine. But you have got in Russia, in a northern province, there is a mineral that is there that you can put in water and it will purify the water. And the only place in the world that it's found is in northern Russia. So one of the other groups last semester, the semester before that, found that out, and they came up with a water purifier, but they were importing from Russia. Nikki, this goes back to your question. I think that it was Poland or China or something, and they were going to import from Russia into their country to make this product. So that's an opportunity for you. Now, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just giving you an example.
Would it be like too far-fetched to import like an extraction machine to then turn around and export that rare mineral to other countries? Would that qualify as a product?
Yes.
If we could have like an American-made machine that could then extract that more quickly or more efficiently?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, that there's got to be an import that's involved in this, because if I mention it to you and it's in Russia, you're still going to have to import something. So thank you for.
Yeah, I'm like, Americans like to make machinery, so.
That's right. So just find out what's needed, what you would have to do, and import one of those, and you'd be fine. Boy, I can't remember the name of that mineral, but you guys do a little research, you'll come up with the thing. I had never heard of it before, and I thought that the group was pulling my leg or stretching stuff and making it bigger than what it is. But after doing the research on the internet, I found out, no, it's true. It actually works, and it's only found in Russia.
I think I might have just found it. Is it Borjomi or Bajormi? Something like that?
That, I think, is it.
It's found in central Georgia in a spring.
In a spring, that's right, and it's for purifying water. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it should say right there, this is the only place in the whole wide world that you can find it. And if that's it, that's just an opportunity for you. That's just an idea. So you don't have to do it, and you may have a lot better ideas. But I'll tell you the two that are overused, and that's water purifiers and solar panels. Everybody wants
solar panels would be very good in Russia.
Well, there could be some problems with solar panels, particularly in northern Russia.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm going to get out of here then and leave you guys. Oh, Nikki, you've got something.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I was just reading like the plagiarism thing, and I did see that like our paper didn't score, I don't think, super high on the plagiarism, but like at what point do you kick it back? Like, what is your percentage that we have to be under?
Thank you for asking that. Let me just tell you a little bit about the way Turnitin works. Turnitin is going to take your raw paper and run it through, and anything that is similar, they're going to add it to the similarity score. Here's the problem with that. Number one is that all of you used the Hofstede Cultural Dimensions website. I forgot what it's called. If that shows up in your footnotes, then Turnitin is going to run that against it and add it to your score. If you legitimately quote someone, put it in parentheses, or quotation marks, and if it's word for word, then Turnitin is going to run that up against your score. So what I do is I will go in and turn off anything dealing with a reference, anything that's found in quotation marks, or anything that's less than 5 words. Because I mean, there's a lot of things that there's only one way to say it. And you're certainly not plagiarizing somebody if you say, "Hi, how's your day?" And yet if you put that in a paper, you're going to get a similarity score on it because somebody else has done that. And so I turn all of those off. as long as, and your paper did not exceed the criteria for the plagiarism. That was the reason that you didn't get a specific email or a specific thing on your paper. But I do want you to be careful in the future. I want you to understand that you guys are in college now. In high school, you got to cut and paste. And in college, they're getting you ready to actually think and to become a businessman or woman, a business person. And that's what I want to see in the papers is that you haven't just done a cut and paste, and that, because that doesn't tell me how much you know, it just tells me how much the author knows. And so in answer to your specific question, as long as your Turnitin score is below 20, then I'm not going to worry about it. If it's between 20 and 30, I'm going to give it some consideration and go in and look at some things. If it's over 30, you're probably in trouble.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't know like some of like the things like we had to give a definition, which like there's really only one way to do. So I just didn't know if that counted against. I mean, because literally we're just cutting and pasting like the definition because it's already been given to us, and I don't know how we can reword a define.
Well, what you want to do is just put quotation marks around it and then put a source reference at the end of it. Where groups get in trouble is where they give me a word-for-word definition and then put a reference at the end of it, but they don't put it in quotation marks. When a reader sees something that's not in
quotations. Okay.
Yeah, when a reader sees something that's not in quotations, the assumption is that this is the writer's own words, your words. If it's in quotation, then it's an assumption that those words came from wherever the reference source refers me back to.
Okay. All right. But then, and I did see like in that like little plagiarism warning, it did say that if you see too many quotations, then will be deducted. But I don't know, I guess like for me, I'm just trying to figure out like how to satisfy giving you a definition and quoting it correctly, but also not being deducted for giving you a quoted definition. That makes sense.
Well, if you're see what you're thinking of right now as you're asking the questions is a definition for a term, and with a definition for a term, it's perfectly fine to put that in quotation marks, and you can put as many of those in there as you want to. However, then you should probably put something in there that shows me that you're thinking, that says, this means such and such. And I don't want you to be repetitious, and I don't want to create information for you, but in high school, if you think back to it, well, when I was in high school, if I think back to my papers, they were 90% plagiarized, because what I would do is just go through and now this was back before they had the internet. I mean, I was lucky to have electricity. And so I had to go down to the library and handwrite stuff. You guys, you've got the internet and you can just go in and do a cut and paste real quick. So I just don't want you to get caught up into the idea that you can cut and paste everything, because you could find a cut and paste to answer every one of those questions. And then, because I had one of the other teams talking to me and saying, well, isn't what is in there correct? Well, the answer is yes, it is. But it's written by an expert that spent 20 years of his or her life researching that and putting it in there. But what have you learned during this class? I mean, when you walk out of this class and you apply for a job, I want you to be ready to be the CEO of that company within just a few years. And you're not going to be unless you know what the material is, and you can't know what the material is by cutting and pasting.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. So, okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't too close to it and that we were doing it correctly.
Well, and that's the reason too, and I'd forgotten to mention that. That's the reason too that I sent you 2 papers, so you should have back the one that was run through Turnitin, and shows
Yeah, and
all
I
the
see. I
highlights.
have it pulled up. I was looking at
Yeah.
it.
So that will let you know what I get back as an instructor. And then I sent out the announcement just to give you the warning. Don't do just a cut and paste on the thing. But at least you can see how Turnitin works, and that will show you how to make it so that you don't get the the highlights from Turnitin.
Okay, and then so like when fixing it for the final paper, because I know like my section in particular, because a lot of them did have terms or like definitions. Should I just go throw some like quotations around it then, because they're already cited, like they're already referenced at the end, and then of course I did make my own recommendation. Like I did pull from it, like obviously what I learned, but I just, to avoid the highlights on the final paper when I fixed my section, throw quotations around it.
Well, let me ask you, is your section the GDP, PPP, and GNI section?
No,
Okay.
mine's the currency exchange.
Okay. There's a lot then that you can put in there that would not be plagiarized, just things where you can put it into your own words. For whoever has the GNI, GDP, or PPP and GNI, boy, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. I mean, that's just boring stuff, and you have to, the only thing you can do is put quotation marks around it, and then if you want to put this is boring stuff, well, no, don't do that. But I mean, you don't have a whole lot of choice when you're defining terms like that, other than to put it in.
Now you tell me. Jeez. If I had known I could have done that, it would have been a whole lot easier.
I warned you that was going to be the hardest section. And it was.
I spent probably an hour. I finally I sat there and I just took notes on it, closed the website down, and then did my words, because I couldn't figure out how to say it the same way without saying the same things.
Yeah. Well, on as long as you let me know that you're studying, that you understand it, that's what I'm looking for as a teacher. Have you understood it? Did it meet the learning objectives? But that's the reason that, back to the comment that was made earlier, that's the reason that a college professor is going to consider a paper, is going to seriously look at a paper for plagiarism if what it is just full of quotes, and that's it. So, any other questions? Okie dokie. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. We'll see you later then.
Thanks for the John.
Bye.
Sweet.
Oh, has anybody started looking at the assignment for this week? My head is spinning. I'll tell you the truth. We were talking before everybody joined in, and he said it's actually one of the easier ones, but for me, the brainstorming, that's actually the hardest for me. So, how do we want to do it this week? We don't have specific assignments at this point.
So is anything actually due this week, like paper-wise? I mean, like that we have to turn into him.
This week we have to turn in the corrected A and B. We have to get that all put together.
To Camille or to him?
To him. Well, we need to turn it into Camille, and then Camille turns it into him.
By Saturday?
Yes.
Okay, just trying to get like a timeline here.
Yeah. And then we also need to have our brainstorming done as well. We need to come up with 3 different suggestions. Yeah, products, thank you. By the end of
So are the products all due this Saturday too?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Or these
Okay.
products
We just need to
are
come up with the
importing.
idea. We don't need to like write up anything other than like these are the products we're thinking about, right?
Oh, I thought he was going into like A, B, C, and D about sustainability and identify. Like, so is that for the other part, or is
So
that all
I think
due
that's for
in this
next
part?
week.
Yeah, that part is due next week, but
Oh.
we yeah, we need to be able to come up with the 3 products that are going to meet that criteria before next week.
Just about had
So
a
we
mile.
decide the 3 products this Saturday, and then we talk about them next Saturday.
Yeah. So there is, let me go back into the modules. There is a discussion board this week where I think we can toss ideas back and forth, brainstorming and stuff like that. Let's see.
Between our group, you mean?
What's that?
Between our group,
Mm-hmm.
a discussion board just for us.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw. Let's see.
Well, maybe we all just do a little research maybe and each come up with 3 ideas and then collaborate Thursday.
Yeah, I think we need
Narrow
to.
it down. Or maybe we could even just do a Google Doc or on the discussion board.
I think it's something where we really need to meet together to do it.
Okay.
Maybe just post things on the discussion board throughout the week. Hold on, let me see what this discussion board actually is. Just a second. Oh no, it's the whole reflection paper that we have to post on the board. All right, let me go back a second. Weekly reflection. All right, so our weekly reflection, we're going to submit on the discussion board for our group. And in the weekly reflection, we need to submit a proposal for a new product that could be sold in the market we're studying, so Russia. Can be sold to individuals and households, not components or raw materials sold only to businesses. We have to explain why the product would address an unmet need or underserved market, identify companies in the country that are selling similar products or related to the one where we're proposing. What are potential cultural issues? This is the information that he was going through. So this is going to be in our reflection paper. And then that reflection paper gets posted on the discussion board. And then from that, I think we're supposed to choose our 3 items for the proposal. This week, it just seems kind of muddled to me. I don't know, am I the only one, or is it, it's just confusing to me.
Yeah, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't looked at anything, so I think I'm confused
Yeah.
because I haven't really gotten into anything. But
Well, we definitely, by Thursday, we need to have our project 1 revision done so we can go over it together.
okay.
And I think everybody really needs to make the best effort possible to make sure that we're all there. So that we can go through it, because it's going to be a big part of the grade. Agreed? Cool.
Thursday at 7, right?
Thursday at 7, yep. I finally had to put it in my phone because I kept getting them confused.
Yeah, I have it on my calendar, and I just want to just double write down every little place I can write it. Just
Yeah. Okay, so I've gotten mine mostly done. There's the section on the government I need to completely redo, so I haven't finished that yet. But and then just a reminder, the part that you're redoing, we agreed we're going to put in green highlight, right? Is that correct?
I know, that's what I was going to just ask. So Camille already made that one document, right?
Uh-huh.
And so the part we changed, or we just redo, how should we do that?
Here, let me share real quick.
Okay, it's like the whole thing that we're going to add in below what was already.
Okay, so this is what I did with my part.
Okay.
So there was parts that were yellow.
Yes.
Like this right here, he said it was awkward wording.
Okay.
So I changed it and I put the changes in green. So it's easy to see where those changes are. Does that work for everybody?
Green. I don't see green. I'm
Do you see this?
Is that the blue or is that green?
well.
Well, there's blue.
There's like his turquoise, which is
Uh-huh.
stuff not needing to be touched.
Right.
Yellow is what we need to fix.
Mm-hmm. And
Scroll
then
down. Maybe it's just not showing.
I don't see any green. I do see a teal and a yellow.
okay,
Yeah.
do you see what I have highlighted right there? This
No.
measurement.
No.
Let me make sure I'm on the right screen. Hold on a second. I had so many different things up that.
Well, some people call blue green, so I was just curious if that was the green.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a bright green, so. you
That
just-
was pretty teal.
Yeah.
Just a minute.
Yeah, I saw the blue and the yellow.
That's
Mhm.
weird that it's not. Okay, maybe I was not on the right page. Hold on. I'm gonna get rid of some stuff on my screen because I felt like that document up in like 4 different places. We don't need that.
You're good there.
Okay, do you see green now? Just little splotches of green here and there.
Oh, yeah.
You.
Okay.
Okay, so you're just putting it right in.
Yeah, just sticking it right in there because we all have the original if we need to go back to that.
Okay.
Emailed it out to us. This way it just stays in the same Google Doc and we don't have to worry about it.
So
Okay.
where is this one that you're seeing?
It's in the original Google Doc that we were working on. Actually, no,
Okay.
it's a separate one. It's in the same folder. Camille sent it out.
Okay.
She just put the email that he sent out to us, just put that whole thing in a Google Doc. So it starts out with this green, where it has the rubric and what we got in each section. And then underneath, if you keep scrolling down, it has the actual paper. And it shows just the different things that need to be adjusted. So for example, this paragraph pretty much needs to be rewritten. Almost the whole thing is yellow. So I would probably just take that whole thing out and rewrite it in green. Highlight it green, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which I did. So should I just I think what I'll do is just my ones like this, I'll just put in the whole new thing and highlight the whole thing green.
I think when we talked earlier, we decided if it was something big like this, then we're just going to put it underneath in green and highlight it green.
Yes, okay.
Like, for example, mine with the government, where'd that go? 5 point something, I think. Yeah. I have to basically redo this entire paragraph. So
Okay.
I'll just put it underneath and highlight it green.
Highlight it green. Okay, okay.
But if it's something smaller, like up here, whoops, went too far, where it's just adding a couple of words to make it less awkward,
Mm-hmm.
then we can just put it right into the paragraph and highlight it.
Okay.
So we can see that it's been addressed. And then I would say try and leave the comments in there so we can go back and see the comments if
Mm-hmm.
necessary. What do you guys think about the comments?
I think that's a good idea.
And then when Camille does the final edit, she can take them out.
Yeah.
Is there any way someone could send the link one more time? Because I have the link to each individual thing, but I don't have it to the whole.
To the folder?
And I
Yeah,
think
the whole
I was
folder.
having problems too, if I remember right.
Okay, hold on a
She was
second.
saying she was sending it, and then I just kept not getting it.
Okay, just a second. Looking for a group message. You can just hit reply all. I think this is to everybody. No, that's fine. That's just my grade. There we go. Okay, I'll just reply all to the grading comments.
Okay. Okay, hello.
And then I'll copy that link and save that one.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so 1 and 2, or A and B,
Yeah, A and B needs to be
finished
done.
by Saturday.
Let's have them done by Thursday,
Thursday. Okay.
so that way we can go over them together.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Anything else, anyone?
No?
Okie doke. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you all.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.